For those of you joining early, this is the pre-meeting, meeting before the meeting. I'm on Huey's account, actually CFCS's account. Stan asked me to start this up for him.
Mike, how did it go with the sale of your drive? Did you get your money?
Yes, and apparently the guy got it because he had changed his address. He left a forwarding address with the post office.
Sale of what?
I sold my Synology disk station. The proceeds after all the fees was about $310.
You sold it?
Yeah.
I thought you kind of just got it recently.
Been about 9 months.
Okay,
Well, recently could be last week or it could be a
Well,
year ago. You know,
yeah, okay, 9 months. I thought you were ecstatic about it.
I was.
What happened?
I'm not ecstatic about it anymore. Actually, what happened was, having no relationship whatsoever to the Synology, P-Cloud came out with a Black Friday offer of 2 terabytes lifetime, unlimited devices. And I had 2 terabytes on the Synology. So I started using the Synology as a started using P-Cloud as a backup for the Synology. And I found that I was actually, when I was either away from the room or I was away from home or wherever I was using P-Cloud much easier. Single click and boom, it was there. No login required, no nothing. And I was able to look up and get the files that I wanted much quicker than it was, you know, with the Synology. So I just said, I really don't need it.
It's a big hard drive, right?
It's a case, which is a network attached storage case. It's got a little computer in it running Linux. And it takes RAID 1. I don't know, can Sean, can you do other RAIDs besides RAID 1? I think it's just.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, well, anyway.
Yeah, I don't use RAID 1 on mine. I've got one of my Synologies has 4 drives. The other one has 5 drives.
Okay, that's RAID 5. Right?
I'm sorry?
That's RAID 5, which gives you parity.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used RAID 5. So my primary Synology, I do have backed up to Backblaze. The other one, I don't back up. I don't need to back it up. So, but I can lose 1 drive on each of them. If I lose 2 drives, I'd have to restore data or just rebuild completely with the other one. So I think I'm gonna at least back up the config files on the new one. But I'm not going to back up the media because that'll be expensive to do.
Yeah.
I can do a local backup.
And I was doing that too. I had a USB. I had a 2 terabyte USB drive plugged in wherever I've got it sitting here at the moment. I'm not quite sure where it is.
I don't necessarily have a drive that's big enough because I've got 22 terabytes. So I
That's
don't make drives big enough for that, but I'm not using that much space. So
See, that's the trouble with physical drives, especially small ones. You say, all right, where is that son of a gun? Oh, it's around here somewhere. My son was visiting a week ago, and I took a 1 terabyte drive
To set up Chris,
and I made an image.
Ah.
Hang on, let me. That's Huey and Craig are coming in. Still no Stan. And I made backups of all my data and gave it to him to take back to Omaha with him when he left. And then we're gonna go up in May, and he's already got an extra one up there that I've given him about a year. And I'll bring that back and make another copy, and we'll just constantly exchange archives. Plus, he's got the login information for pCloud if he needs to get to something more currently. So Stan said, I'll be on in 5. So
Okay.
we will see.
I'll be taking a few minutes of siesta at 7, 7:30 and 8.
Okay.
That's
Narcolepsy?
in there. And I am on, by the
Well,
way.
you are on. Okay, you're signed into Huey's account rather than clicking on your own link.
I had to download Zoom onto the Lenovo.
Okay, we'll change your participant's name then to Stan Walker.
I'm doing that right now.
Yeah, well, when everybody gets on, we'll let Stan and I will recount the process we went through here recently to get him up and running.
Let's see.
So that wasn't Huey. Okay.
Hey, Stan, you in a closet?
Saving money on electricity. Is that the new light that you got from Ollie's, Stan?
Sean, good.
Is that the new light that you got from Ollie's over your head, or is that just the overhead light? You're buffering, so I guess your connection's not that good. Okay, I got you streaming again. I was asking you if the light that's over your shoulder is the new light you got from Ollie's. Except I don't hear you, Stan.
Stan, can you hear us?
Yes,
Okay. Oh, good. We can hear you.
you do hear me?
Yeah.
So I asked you a question. Is that light over your shoulder the one you got from Ollie's, or is that just your room light? Yeah, that one. Ah, room lighting. Okay. You guys are hearing me, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I thought so.
Mike, question. Did you ever send the link to the CFCS YouTube recording for the Swami?
I didn't send it to Swami, and let's see. That was the main meeting, the whole thing. Huey got that. He got
Ah.
everything. So I haven't seen it from Huey.
I haven't seen that either. I thought you were, for some reason, I thought you were doing it.
Let me just check and see if he posted it on CFCS. Sometimes he just does that.
Well, I don't recall seeing it.
The hold first hybrid meeting. And no, he didn't post it, so we'll have to remind him to post that. I wanted to get rid of.
Oh. I was seeing 5 on the participants and only 4 of us are up in my thing. The 5th person is Craig Morris,
Yes.
who I recall from many years back. He dropped out and stopped coming, and then he was.
I'm here.
You are? Okay.
Yeah.
Hello. Welcome. How you doing?
I've had better years.
Yeah. Well,
Getting old like the rest of you.
All right, well, as long as we're here and it's 7 o'clock,
yeah,
why don't we kick this off with a little discussion of your internet, and along the way, I'll talk a little bit about the T-Mobile that you're on right now.
yes. The events for the past few days have been ridiculous. Before the board meeting last Thursday, I started to set up the club laptop, and I couldn't get online. And then I tried a couple of other machines that I had, and I couldn't get online, and I went to the control panels, set up. It turned out I had no internet. The Seminole County had decided to install wheelchair type ramps at all the corners of the main street that my street is off. And it turns out I had CenturyLink for my internet, and they couldn't make it until Monday, yesterday, and discovered that when the county was doing the digging, they hired an independent contractor, and the company that was doing the actual installation wasn't responsible for the digging and didn't get a permit. And so they didn't scan, and they cut my internet line, fiber optics. And of course, that can't be spliced. They got to go to the nearest box, and it's over 200 feet under the road, under sidewalks. They got to get a permit to do that work. And the guy said it's usually 1, 2, or more weeks to get the damn permit. So what I'm on connected to right now is Mike's T-Mobile hotspot. I had been to T-Mobile, they put my address in and they said, no, it won't work at your location, but he was good enough to bring it up. We tried it out and it's working. I was even eventually able to get I have an AT&T set-top box for the AT&T Direct Stream is the name of the service, which works off of the internet because AT&T doesn't service my neighborhood. So I finally, after 4 days, have TV back on one TV in the house, and I have internet to use on my computer. What I did for the board meeting was to interlope on my neighbor's patio. They were out doing something, and he was good enough to give me his network, so I set up the computer on the table. Had myself a pleasant hour for the board meeting. That worked out fine. But yeah, I haven't had a chance to try to move the actual T-Mobile hotspot up onto the upper level deck, like not deck, but what I
That'll
mean.
give you more range in the house itself by being higher up, and maybe
then
get
what-
you another couple of bars or another bar. of
Yeah,
signals.
then I'll run a line back and put it onto a switch and see how that works. And I don't know, maybe I'll fire CenturyLink.
Those of you that recall what I had covered previously for the TechSIG, there was an offer from T-Mobile starting right around Black Friday, I guess, last November on into December, for their new hotspot, which is about the size, twice the height of a coffee can and just a little bit slimmer. It's basically a cylinder, and it's a complete modem router transceiver. And it takes the 5G mid-band frequency, which can penetrate walls. It doesn't like to, but it can. And it receives it, and then it processes it and converts it into an internet signal, which it then sends to a 2-port switch on the body of the unit itself. If you have other Ethernet devices you want to plug into it, or a switch. And it also then puts out Wi-Fi 6 on both the 2.4 and the 5 megahertz bands in your home. So I did a whole series of tests that I posted to the TechSIG, where I tested in my house. I took it outside and walked around, checked how many bars, took it to the base of the nearest T-Mobile tower, checked the throughput, which was pretty good. It was 200 plus. And I'm using it as a backup system. The deal I got was $50 a month, and the hotspot itself was free. There was no price for it. And I don't know if that deal is still available. So that's something Stan will have to check out and see if it's still available. But along the way, because of what I promoted, Tom Alt, who's also a member of this group, was saying he checked with T-Mobile and they told him, hey, sorry, you're not close enough to a tower to use this. And Tom lives about 8 or 9 miles from me, just north of Oviedo. And I said, hey, I'll come over to your house with the hotspot and we'll see what kind of a signal we had. And we had 2 to 3 bars of cellular signal. And I brought my notebook with me. We were outside his house using an inverter and plugged into my car so I could give it full power. And we had about 40, 50 megabits down and about 10 to 15 megabits up. And out where he was forced to use an AT&T system that was only giving him about 14 down. So he was very happy with it. And he went to his T-Mobile store where they gave him the same story that Stan got. Sorry, it's not available in your area. He says, that's all right. Friend brought it out. It works. I want one. I said, well, we're really not supposed to give it to you, but if you insist, we'll give it to you. We can't guarantee you that it's going to work. And of course it worked. And then he went on and told a couple neighbors about it, and they went and they got it, and they're very pleased too. Too bad it isn't a referral program where you get referrals when people take you up on the offer. So it is, for me, it's just a backup because I have Spectrum and its Spectrum here is okay. I'm on it now when it's working. But since last November, I've had a lot of data interruptions. Plus AT&T has been trenching in our neighborhood for fiber cable. So I'm waiting for that when it's finished and see what kind of offers they're going to make, what kind of speeds and how much money it's going to be. But meanwhile, the unit's just inside Stan's house, sitting on a table. What about maybe 3 feet from a window on that table where we set it up, Stan, I would think. And his TV set's probably about 5 feet away from that in a corner. And when I was there, it's an older set, but it did have some apps and it had an Amazon Prime app. So I was able to go through the TV settings and the Wi-Fi setup and sign into it, and it worked just fine. And using, I didn't sign into the Amazon account, but you can get to the Amazon app free and just use movie trailers. So I picked up, a fairly recent movie trailer that was broadcasting in high definition, and there was no buffering. The sound was great, the picture was great. And that was on 2 bars showing on the control panel of the T-Mobile hotspot. Plus the Lenovo computer, plus my phone, plus Stan's phone. So it's doing a pretty good job, I guess.
When you say my TV is older,
Well, compared to some,
of course,
of course,
but I have 2 stories.
many of you know my story of the TV, but the latest on my TV isn't working. And
I
so,
have 2 stories to tell you about that, though.
well, mine,
One was I bought it
Okay,
at
go ahead.
CompUSA before before they moved. And I think I paid $400 or something like that. It was a steal, Vizio. But I called them for tech support on something. And I asked if they could tell me when it was that I first registered that. And the chap that I was talking to said, I don't have that, but I see the last time you called tech support was 5 years ago. That cracked me up. I thought, that's our new set. Linda was also quite surprised.
I think I covered in a previous TechSIG meeting, but again, there's some people here that may not have seen or heard that. I've got a new 75-inch Sony that I got in November. And it asked me if I wanted to do a software upgrade about 2 months ago now. I said, sure, do the upgrade. And then I started getting weird patterns on the screen, and finally it wouldn't boot up at all. And it's taken me this long just to get a technician from the Geek Squad to come to my house tomorrow and do what they call triage. Even though I've sent them pictures of a blank screen and described exactly what's happening, they have to have a technician come out here and verify before they can even put an order in for a replacement. And I have no idea, assuming, I mean, it just doesn't boot up, period. I don't think there's anything anybody can do to make it boot up. So when triage is done, I have no idea how long it's going to take to even get an order in the system, get one to the Geek Squad, and then have them come to my house and install it. And if it took me 6 weeks to get them to come here just to do triage, then I can imagine it'll be another 6 weeks just to get them to come here and put a new TV up on the wall.
So is that a service you paid for?
Yep.
You
Yep.
paid for a service that takes 6 weeks for them to come to your home?
Yep.
How do you get your money back?
Well, I could get my money back, but then I've got a dead TV. And
Are there any?
I'm not going to take it off the wall myself and replace it. So
My point is, that is horrible.
I know it's horrible.
So what is there, don't they have any kind of a service?
Where
Don't they guarantee a time frame?
Nope. Sir, we're very sorry. We don't have the numbers of people working for us that we need. Because of COVID, people are out. Because of demand, people can't respond, you name it. What I went through 6 weeks ago, after I reported the problem, and it happened on a weekend, the final drop dead, no boot up. The person I spoke to, they do have a 24/7 person on it, and it is in the United States, and they do speak good English and all the rest of that. And the guy was, he commiserated with me and he said, we're very sorry. Perhaps you would like to try Sony's concierge service. I said, what is that? He says, well, because of the model of set you have, it's in their premium line. And your warranty is 1 year parts and labor. So if you give their concierge service a call, perhaps they will have a faster response. That took up more than a week's worth of correspondence with Sony, starting with an entry-level phone call, followed up by emails, followed up by send us a picture, followed up by take a picture of the back of your set so that we can see the serial number of the set. I'm sorry, it's on the wall. Well, you'll have to take it off the wall. I said, no, I can't take it off the wall. I need the Geek Squad to do that. Well, then get a hold of the Geek Squad. Finally, went back to the Geek Squad and I said, thank you for the referral to Sony's concierge service, which is a total waste of time for anybody having Geek Squad, because they're not going to come to my house and troubleshoot the set. They are not going to take it off the wall. They will take my word for it that it's broken, and they will ship a new set, but they won't install it. And I had checked with the Geek Squad. No, the Geek Squad will not install a Sony Concierge replacement TV because they didn't process it under the Geek Squad warranty. So I said, fine. Start over, give me a date. Okay, the first available date is March 23rd. It's tomorrow. They're going to be here tomorrow.
That sounds like a good lawsuit.
Yeah.
Hey, you need to be calling, one of the TV stations, Action Reporters.
Nine on your side, right? Well, if they give me a hard time tomorrow, and then they say, okay, it will be 6 weeks and we'll be back to install your new set. I can say, hey, it's a lemon, take it off my wall, give me a refund. Now I have to go order another set. And it took me a month to get it. I ordered it in November and I got it in December. So it took me a month just to get the appointment to have it installed. So it could be summer going that route.
Where's your original TV set?
The original Sony that I had on the wall, good friend of mine's daughter has it at University of South Florida in Tampa. In her bedroom, on her dresser. That's kind of close for a 52-inch set. Anyway,
Wow.
yeah, wow.
Whatever happened to your network? You ever get that figured out?
Okay, so my network kept dropping. Sometimes it was Spectrum's problem. Spectrum, it's a pointed fingers. Okay, it started out, sir, you have your own modem. We're not responsible for that. Okay, fine. So went to the Spectrum store, got a free Spectrum modem, plugged it in, worked fine. Network still occasionally dropped. Sir, we're very sorry, but you have your own router. We're not responsible for your router. I said, come out, send a service person out and test my line. We can make an appointment, but you really need to have your router. You know, either our router or he isn't going to be able to check your router out, whatever. So I found a backup router available, used but refurbished condition on Amazon for like 69 bucks. And that's what I'm on right now. I don't think there's anything wrong with the original router. And frankly, Spectrum hasn't dropped since. So I could say that it was my router, but I don't think so.
So the last time we talked, there was something when you plugged in your media center switch or the TV, it was dropping. Did you just not plug the TV in again, or are you just using it wirelessly now?
Well, I had checked it wirelessly. That was while the TV was working. And then I had a 50-foot roll of Cat 5e Ethernet cable, which is sitting on the floor behind me right now, running into the other room, going to the new switch that's on the TV, connected to the new switch that's on my network. So just about everything's been replaced. Once I get the TV working again, I will probably connect the old wire back to it. And I might even pull out the old switch and see if I still have problems.
Now, can the Geek Squad, do they have the expertise to actually fix it? Is
No.
there a, no.
No,
So-
they'll come out and diagnose it.
So there's no
They
like,
kept asking, send us a picture of the menus on your TV. I said, it's black. Well, send us a picture of the black. I said, it's off. If I plug it in, I can vaguely see a slight glow. So I know the edge, I know the power's on. I know the power supply is working. And I can see, so the edge lighting that, you know, that's around the edge, when nothing's on the screen itself, gives you a glow that when something that's being transmitted is black, you don't see. So when nothing, literally nothing is being transmitted, nothing's being processed. So I think that it's the motherboard of the processor, whatever you want to call it, computer, that kind of thing. But no, they have no ability to repair it. If it were to come up and have the crazy patterns that were on it before it completely failed, they probably could have gone through some kind of factory reset. And it's my guess that if they had done that and said, see, now it's working, and left, it would have been the same amount of time for it to completely fail again anyway. So
have they been out at all?
have they
Geek
what?
Squad, has the Geek Squad come out?
No,
at all?
tomorrow.
No.
Tomorrow.
Is there any kind of connector like on a car, you know, for the AODL, OBD1 type?
Not
there-
that's visible from the side of the set. Everything is a standard HDMI, USB, nothing special that I'm aware of. I didn't look that closely at the back of the set when they installed it. I think even if you go onto Amazon and you see all sides of the TV, I don't think you see
So
it.
it's on the wall hard, it's not on the scissors.
Correct. This particular wall mount I had gotten for the old 52-inch Sony units. It's rated for 200 pounds. And the new one, I think the old one was about 140 pounds. So this thing is about 65, 70 pounds. So it's a standard, what is it, EISA, something like that. VESA, VESA, standard mounting points.
Does it scissor out from the wall?
No, the only thing it will do is it will tip up slightly so that you can then lift it off. It's got like hooks that are on a metal plate on the back that fit over the rack and then comes down and it locks in place, and you take hex screws with a long wrench. Paul and I talked about that. I did find the wrench eventually, Paul. And you just lock it in place so it can't be bumped or whatever.
There's no tilt. It doesn't tilt on it either.
No. The only adjustment is up and down and left and right. Left and right, you're just moving along the rack. Up and down, when you originally have the unit laid out on the floor on a rug and you measure where you want it, you can change a couple of the mounting points and move them up and down. So I said to them, even though I had a 52-inch, I had a good 3 inches between the bottom of the old TV and our console. And I said, I'd like to retain that height. And they said, okay, so we'll add another 3 inches to the height. And they did that, put it up on the wall. It's the center of the image is about where the old center of the image was with the 52. And I still have about 3 inches above the console. But modern technology, let's face it, I mean, it's a computer with a monitor. And computers do fail, as we all know. Stan wouldn't be in business if they didn't. And these things, you'd like to think if a motherboard has to be replaced, you would have like a socket and you'd unscrew a cover and you'd undo some plugs and put in a long wrench or something. And then you pull the motherboard out, put another motherboard in, connect all your plugs, close the thing up, button it up and turn it back on again, but you can't do that. They don't build them like that. And Paul, you know, with that 23-inch I gave you, you had to take the whole thing apart to get to the motherboard.
Yeah, I fixed my 46-inch, basically, the back comes off and then the boards are held in by, a number of Phillips screws. And then there's a bunch of plugs. And, you can have it off in just a couple of minutes, real quick. Well, I'm sure all the sets are built roughly the same.
I mean, I'm making an assumption. I'm making an assumption there's nothing they can do except say, yes, it's broken and go replace it. Perhaps the Geek Squad would do the same thing. I don't know. I would accept that if they came with a new motherboard, cardboard box, got a nice thick rug they can set it down on and take the back off and undo their plugs, take the old motherboard off, put the new motherboard on, screw it back together, put it up on the wall again. And if everything's working fine, I'd say thank you very much. But I don't think they're going to do that or replace the whole TV.
I've communicated, whatever word you want to use, with people that are kind of in the TV repair business of the modern digital sets of today. Now, when I was in the TV repair business back in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, most of the stuff I did was discrete parts before they had solid state stuff. Everything was tubes. And then, you all know about that. And then Then they came out with the boards, small boards, and the sets were made differently. Some of the boards came out, we actually fixed the boards and put them back in. And some sets had big boards and some had a bunch of small ones. But, and then the guys that went out to fix the sets in the home were called tube jockeys, as you're sure you've heard that term. Of course, all you can really do in the house is try a bunch of tubes. If it doesn't work, they got to pull the set. And that's how the TV business operated for decades.
Yep.
So, but now, today, with the complexity of these digital boards, there's no way anybody can troubleshoot anything on the board. The factory, if they got a test jig, can power it up and possibly do it with, factory equipment. But basically today, the way these digital sets are repaired, you've got maybe 4 boards, maybe 3, maybe 6, but it's usually, I've had a lot of these sets apart, so I kind of know what's in them. And there's, there's, just a few boards. There's only, 6 tries to fix a set. And I mean, there's not a lot of parts here, like fixing an old, I take back the word old, past TVs, where there's lots of things that could have gone wrong here. You've just got to try one board or another board. And
For all
generally,
you know, it's a cold solder joint somewhere, the way.
Generally- generally there's one main board that does all the processing. And then, then there's a power supply board, and there's a main board. And then there's the MTU board, which is the interface between the smarts and the panel and the display that drives the display. So I mean, there's not a lot of stuff to really try. Generally, on a problem like yours, it's probably the main board.
Well, they're gonna, if indeed they're gonna replace it, you're probably right. It's gonna go to a Sony service center somewhere. They may do exactly what you're saying, find the board that needs to be replaced. It's now refurbished and it goes into the refurbished market, whether that's on eBay or Amazon or wherever they're selling refurbished stuff. And you get a 90-day warranty and you can buy extra.
Depending how this plays out, I would really twist somebody's arm and see if I can get that warranty extended.
Yeah, obviously I'm not a happy camper. And,
Right.
and
Right. I'm not going to
I
say
express my displeasure to everybody that I talk to on it
I'm not-
and in my email conversations, but you're talking
I'm
to
not gonna-
somebody who's getting $15 an hour to be on a phone or to read email and reply back to customers. You're not getting to somebody who can make a decision and give you, credit for something or do. The only other possibility is I could say, all right, I don't want a Sony in replacement. I don't trust it. I don't like its reliability. You guys have given me terrible service. So I want the nearest Samsung in price. And since I bought the Geek Squad installation and the Geek Squad warranty, I want a new Samsung 75-inch TV. And you guys.
See you later.
So we'll see. I'll play it by ear. We'll see.
Have you not tried to go up the ladder of the management of the actual store? Not just.
No, that's, I probably could have. The key is, it was a November Black Friday sale. This thing had been selling for something like, I think it started out at $23.95, $24.95, something like that. Then it went down to 2,000, and it was selling around 2,000 most of the fall. And then Black Friday, it dropped down to about 15 something. So, I was saving $1,000 almost on the model. And so I decided, all right, saving that much money, I'll just put that into a full installation. which includes, you know, unpacking, hanging it on the wall, taking the old one off, configuring it, which they did. They did the full setup for me while we were here. And they offered to connect devices to it, but the only thing I wanted to connect to it was the home theater amp. Everything else goes through the home theater amp. And then it includes the 5-year warranty. And the 5-year warranty, Best Buy probably has one of the best warranty programs of any of them that are out there, because it covers anything, literally. Damage, if you drop it, well, I'm not going to drop a set that's mounted on the wall. But, you know, like for a notebook, if you drop it, you have the warranty. That's fine, you're covered. It includes not only surge suppression, but lightning strike. And if you read all these surge suppression warranties, they cover you for surges, but they don't cover you for natural disasters like lightning striking the ground within 10 feet of your house. Best Buy's does. If you have a lightning strike, you're still covered if the unit goes out. So that was another reason why, even though I contacted Sony and their concierge thing, once I found out they weren't going to pay to remove and replace it, I said, okay, if I have to stay with them, I stay with them, but I'm going to make them adhere to the terms of the warranty. But I will express my displeasure, and I will talk to management. Maybe they'll extend the warranty by 6 months or something. But, you know, 5 years and 6 months from now is probably not going to be much different than 5 years from now. And if it's like my last Sony set, once it gets through what they call infant mortality, which sounds kind of grim, but that's basically what happened. Once I get through that, these sets usually are pretty reliable. So if they could easily, like you said, Stan, yours is probably what, 10, 12 years old now? Your Vizio? Stan,
Yes,
how old do you think your Vizio is? About 10 or 12 years old?
no. I rethought that what I said earlier was incorrect now that I think of it. The set that I bought when CompUSA moved out was it's an odd name. It was a real, you know, orphan that I got really cheap from them. I bought this maybe 2 years ago at both Sam's and Costco had a you know, whether it was Black Friday or what, I'm not sure, but it was a good deal. But it wasn't the real deal that I got on the one that
Well, I thought it was fairly modern when I could see that I could connect it to Wi-Fi, but it only had 3 apps on it that I could find. And it didn't look like they had an app store where you could go, like mine is a Google TV. You know, I'll shoot myself in the head for doing that. But anyway, I can go to the Google App Store, and if it's anything that affects video and there's an app for it, an Android app, because that's what it is, it's an Android operating system, then you can download it to the TV set. And then I had originally planned on using the Roku, which I have. It's a Roku Ultra, so it's their best model. But it turns out that the modern TVs, especially the modern operating systems now for modern TVs, will give you better video and better audio signals that a home theater amplifier can resolve in the Dolby Digital and the Dolby Surround and the Dolby Atmos, and then the high definition, HDR, high definition resolution. All of that is better with the app that comes with the TV than it was with the Roku. So I just finally disconnected the Roku and just used that until everything failed. Okay, I've taken up enough time.
Well, that was interesting. Thank you.
HDR is high dynamic range.
That's it. Thank you.
Okay, who's next?
Sean?
Paul, do you want to squeeze in before your 8 o'clock break? You got anything for us?
Are you talking to me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, you know, I just had to run to the living room. My wife's friend, her circuit breaker for her hot wood heater is popping. So she asked me if they could tape the circuit breaker closed with a piece of tape. I said, God, you know, the problem with the hot water heater is that they got a shorted element inside the tank, and that'll cause the circuit breaker to pop. So you got to change the elements, which is a pretty easy job for me. It's just plumbing. So, but I said, no, you can't hold the circuit breaker or you'll heat up the wires and burn down your house. So that's where I just came from. But anyway, so what's happening in my life? I actually did have a couple things to talk about. Most of my time basically has been going to my airplane, but working on a flat problem. I actually wound up right back where I started at the switch. Really strange problem. So that's where a lot of my time's been going. And then worked on my environmental system on the Corvette, where I would push a button and nothing would happen. And sometimes it would work. I ended up taking the whole control unit out and soldering up all the pins. And then there's a interconnection board, and I soldered those pins, both sides of the thing. And then I cleaned all the pins and everything's been working good. Okay, so moving on to satellites. A few weeks ago, we talked about the guy that's got the satellites going around for internet.
Starlink. Mhm.
Yeah, Starlink. So there's this guy on my ham radio thing who I ended up talking to him a second time, and I asked him if he gets dropped out, because Mike was interested in that. And he says, I said, do you have times when you don't get internet? And he said, no. He says, there's always 2 or 3 satellites in view, and I haven't had any of that problem. So that's that. And the other thing on my wife's.
I will comment on that, because I don't remember which member of our group has joined us in the past. I don't think it was Dick Vogel. But when we saw his office with his screens behind him, he had a great big 32-inch screen, and he had the tracking app for Starlink showing the orbits and passing over Florida. And there were periods of time when you might only have 1 satellite, or maybe there'd be a gap of a minute or more where there was no satellites. So I know they're launching more, but combined with high trees at the end of the property in one end and a neighbor's house on the other, and not knowing how high up I would go with an antenna if it were just on the roof, it is conceivable that were I to get Starlink here, in this location, there would be periods of time where I'd have no internet, and I didn't want to be in that situation. So that's why I just didn't consider it. Maybe in the future, when they get better coverage and they've got maybe 10 or 12 satellites going at the same time, and I'm in range of 3 of them, that'd be fine.
Where was that chap that you were talking to, Paul?
Where was he?
Yes, what city, what state?
Orlando here.
Oh,
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah. He's in the local group.
Huh.
One of my ham radio groups here in Orlando.
I'll look that site up while you guys are talking.
So the other thing, my wife's, I think 2014 MacBook, I talked about the mouse pad numerous times not working, which it's now fixed. I took the block of wood out. I trimmed that piece of plastic off the battery, and everything seems to be working good. She had a really crazy problem, and this happened once before. She's on eBay. She goes to buy something, and then she clicks on buy it now, and the screen goes like off of eBay. It goes white, and then there's a runner on the top that says, you can't access this server, something like that. The last time that happened, I think I was able to log into her account on my computer. I don't know, this is months ago, and she ended up buying it on her iPhone. So then 2 nights ago, this same thing happened. She wanted to buy something. She doesn't use eBay that much, so I don't know if this is happening all the time or if it's just an intermittent thing, because she uses Etsy a lot for her art stuff. So she couldn't, she got that same thing and she needed to buy this one item. So I said, well, just log in on your iPhone because it's already saved on your summary sheet and buy it from your iPhone, which she did, and all worked out great. And then she logged back into her computer and she went to the summary sheet and it was visible on the purchases. So I don't know. I have no idea why this crazy thing is happening. But the one thing I can't get her to do, she has done this before, is clear the cache. Every time she clears the cache, she loses, access to her saved passwords and everything. So then she's got to go drag out of all these sites that she logs into to log in. And, I finally got her to get a book to write her passwords down because I got a lot of them on my desk over here that I save, and I stay up with a lot of the stuff. But I finally got her to get a little more organized on the passwords. So if she has to log back into Etsy and Facebook and eBay and AOL and all these other places that she goes to all the time, she can do it. But I don't know, is there any way that this could be a cache problem where if the cache is not cleared, it's going to cause this huge hiccup? If I knew it would fix it, I would have her clear the cache. So I'm not pushing her on it right now. But I really just don't know why this is happening. She's logged in and logged out of eBay, and the computer works normal only when she goes to buy something.
Has she tried a different web browser?
No, she just uses Safari.
Okay, well, install Chrome or Brave or Firefox on it. And that's always a good idea because not every site works with every browser. That's a kind of a first level of testing. So
Okay.
if she comes across that again, you can say, well, hey, just go ahead and go into Firefox and try it from there. There's also, when you reset Safari, I think there's different, you can also set it to not clear everything, I believe. Let's see.
Yeah, I know you can do that on my regular computer with Chrome. There are settings for that. I don't know enough about the Apple and the Apple computer to do that.
Well, it's the web browser, not the computer. But yeah, I don't even use Safari, so I don't have a whole lot of advice for you. But another web browser. Also, she should be using a password manager that is separate from all browsers, that has plugins for a browser.
She's very low tech, very
Okay.
low tech person. I have to do a lot of stuff for her. If anything happens, she would like to go back to the age of TVs where there's a volume control knob, you turn the knob, set comes on, the volume comes on, and there's a channel changer. That's as much as she likes to mess with. When she gets into the, she just doesn't get the tech stuff very well. So,
Right.
but she has been keeping up with the operating system. When it says, do an update, we have been keeping up with that. So, it says it'll do it at night, but it won't, because she tried that once. So we basically just go to wherever you go to, and say, go ahead and do the update, and then it does it, and everything's good. So she's been keeping up with the operating system. So yeah, I can try to download Chrome and see if we can load eBay on the Chrome. That may solve that problem.
Yeah,
But I have to figure out if it's an every time occurrence or not. That's what I don't really know.
well, and it's not a, I'm just mentioning that for troubleshooting. I mean, it could be a resolution, but at least then you would know it's not the computer. You know, you would know that it's her, it's Safari, you know, and it could be a workaround that she just uses if that comes across. She does that, and I guess it could be a solution.
Is there a, like in Chrome, is there an update for Safari? Like when
Yeah,
you do an
Yes,
when you
yes,
do
it
an
it comes with the Mac. It's through the system updates. When you check for updates on the computer, it'll check and make if there's an update to Safari, it'll download it and install it.
okay, so it's automatic when you do the operating system.
Yes.
Okay.
If I can jump in real quick, I'd like to share my screen and to say to Paul, right now I have 0 Starlink coverage. I just put it into chat, but let me go ahead and share the screen. Okay, so what you're seeing is here's the Starlink satellites. They're moving across. This is my house. I put in my home's latitude and longitude. These are the ground stations that they're using. And okay, boom. I just got 2 signals in from 2 satellites, but they're moving away from me. So for the last 30 seconds or so, the max I saw was 4 satellites. The minimum was 0. And it was somewhere between 2 and 3. And I can scroll back out so you can see, even that's interesting that there aren't that many satellites. There's some over here, off the West Coast. There's one over here on the Gulf Coast. There's one down in the South. But they're not providing any service right now. I'm down, now I'm down to 1 that's providing service. And this is showing me, let's see, the attitude history of a particular satellite, which you can see, I guess it jumps around. And then it pops to another one when it goes out. So I have to keep hitting home and then zoom in. So if this is saying 3 satellites are in range, but you can see they're all, 2 of them are away from me and moving away. And there's a 3rd one out here that's not come. Now, I don't know why this one is not considered giving me a signal. Yeah, okay, it popped in. Now I've got 4 satellites that could be providing me coverage. And they're all to the north. And my neighbor's house is about 35 feet on the other side of a fence directly north of where I'm at. So if this is going to be a north altitude rather, for reception, then it depends on what the angle. Here's the elevation 66. It's saying elevation is 66. But it'd be close. It'd have to really be high to get through it.
Is this like a Starlink app?
No, it's satellite-map.space. I put it in the chat. I'm sure it's provided by NORAD, or I don't know. Actually, I don't. You could probably look up the information and see what their source is, how they're doing this. When a new launch goes off and the satellites haven't dispersed, you'll actually see a line of satellites. If they're in our area, you'll see a line of satellites moving across as a line. Now, this guy's coming closer to me. And this is going away, so he's going to drop. This one's going away from me. He's not in range. Going to the south. It keeps jumping out. I guess a new satellite comes in. This one is not considered, I guess. No, it's not considered in range. So I'm looking at the angles. Now I have 1. Only 1. He's coming towards me with an elevation of 48 degrees, 49 degrees, 50 degrees. So I don't think I would be picking him up because the way my neighbor's roof is, unless I could get a tower like you've got, Paul, and put the antenna up there.
A tower?
Yeah, get the thing above my neighbor's roof line. Like your antenna tower does.
I mean, I don't have a tower.
Well, you've got an antenna pole. I call that a tower.
Oh, okay. So what kind of antenna is for Starlink? Is it like a dish?
Yeah, it's like a dish. And it mounts on a little tripod on the roof or a little roof bracket. And then there are adapters to put it up on towers. So depending on where you are in the world, in order to clear tall trees, homes, apartments, whatever, and if you got the rights to put something up on the tower. All right, so now this one's moving south of me and moving away. And what's the azimuth is 169. Oh, elevation, that's what I want, 72 degrees, okay. But I'm no longer getting a signal according to this. Okay, it's a resource. Anyway, I just can't accept, right now, I can't accept those limitations on Starlink. Later on, if we get a cluster like over here, you got a nice big cluster of them. And this is probably a group that hasn't yet fully dispersed, but it's in the process of dispersing. Sean,
Yes,
you want to talk for a little bit?
sure. I've been really busy with work, so I can't complain there. My latest toy thing that I've done is I bought another Synology. I think I may have mentioned it during our last meeting, and it's a bigger unit than the one I got originally. It's the 15. It's called the Synology DS 1510. No, 1510 plus. I forget. Anyway, I'm going to log into it here real quick. I did add today. It supported up to 8. It officially supports 8 gigs of RAM, but I put a 16 gigger in there, and so now I've got a total of 20 gigs of RAM in it. And one of the things that I find really intriguing about it is, and this works on both of these Synologies, is I've installed Docker, which is a containerized applications that kind of single purpose. One of them is a product called Zero Tier. Actually, I think I installed Zero Tier on your old Synology.
Right.
And it provides in essence, a worldwide network that's private for you. So I have it join my network, and my computers also are on the same network with the software. And I get an IP address from this Zero Tier network, which, by the way, is free. You can pay for it as well if you're a company and you need more than 50 seats, but I don't need that. So I've got a free account, and I can access my server pretty much from anywhere as long as I have internet access. So that's pretty neat, and that runs in a container. And I also installed something called Watchtower. That's another Docker container. And Watchtower watches the other containers, and if there's an update, it will stop the container, update it, and then restart the container, and you don't have to do anything. I will likely set that up so that I get an email that tells me, oh, that this container, whatever container's been updated.
What do you run inside the container?
Well, an example is I just recently purchased a couple of in-wall, they're called, they're Wi-Fi in-wall units. Actually, I guess I can show you. It's by TP-Link.
Let me see if I think I need to give you share
Okay.
co-host, just a second.
TP.
Make co-host. Okay, you should be a co-host now.
Okay. Okay. Share screen. So what am I sharing? Am I sharing?
You're sharing the Omida wireless wall plate
Okay.
access point.
Okay, so this is the Omada TP-Link. This is a fairly new line. And they've got various different types of Wi-Fi. It's Wi-Fi 6. And this fits over a regular wall junction box, right? Like a light switch or a, that size. I don't know what that's called. Maybe it says it on here. And what happens is I've got in my garage apartment, I've got Ethernet all through that place. God bless the man that built that. I don't know who he was, but I'm happy about it because I can put these in-wall units. Right now, I've got one Wi-Fi unit covering the whole place, but I'm going to put one in the bedroom and one in the living room. And this is what it looks like from the front. This is how it is on the back. You just plug the Ethernet cable in and then connect it to the wall. So it's, in essence, it looks like this. And on the bottom of that, underneath here, are some Ethernet ports. And it just so happens that one of them, by the way, this is powered by power over Ethernet. So I have a switch in my garage in my rack that sends power across the Ethernet cable. So it will power, the switch will power this thing. You plug it in the back here, you put it on the wall, so it looks like that. And then if you have, in my situation, I've got a camera that is mounted on outside of my garage that faces down my driveway towards the street. And I will use the one Ethernet port on here. I don't know if you can tell. Here we go. This Ethernet port has PoE out. So this will support powering the camera that's mounted outside of my garage. So, and then my wife works from home periodically. So I could actually, and I may do this, just have her use Ethernet just for, because she does these video conferencing, and it would be more reliable. If it's all possible to run a wire to it, I do it. So that'll allow her to be hardwired to the network. So kind of a cool product. The reason I brought that up is on my, let me see if I can bring it up here. My Synology, inside of my Docker, I've got a container called Omada. If it loads, here we go. So I've got a container that's called Omada controller. And this allows me to configure these devices. I think you can purchase an Omada controller from TP-Link, but this is, since it's open source, it's running Linux, so they have to make it open source. So therefore, somebody in this M. Bentley, whoever that is, created the Docker container for it. So, and the way to access that, now I'm not sure this is going to work because I've got some fine tuning to do, but here's the controller. Now it's not, it's a default. It wants me to set up like it's fresh. Anyway, that allows you to monitor those units, configure them, create the Wi-Fi. If you wanted to create a guest Wi-Fi, you could. There's all kinds of highly tunable things you can do with this Omada Wi-Fi. So it's very similar. If anybody's used the Ubiquiti Unify line, In fact, I think they may have copied some of the code, because the interface of the Omada and the Ubiquiti Unify are very similar. So some of the other containers I have installed, just toying around. I've got one for Bitwarden, which is a password keeper. I just did this just as I'm going to play with it. Eventually I'll delete it, but you can host your own password keeper server. So it's just in your home. You don't have to rely on it being in the cloud or whatnot. Another one, change detection. So with this, these are all, by the way, these are all configurable via their website. Once you get the container running, you can then go to the website, which is actually the same address with a different port number as your server. So change detection, it allows you to put in website. If you're interested in when a website changes, say you've got a friend who blogs, is on vacation and blogs and posts pictures and whatnot, you can monitor that, and it'll give you, it'll send you an email or send you a push notification to let you know that that website has changed. MeTube, I tried getting that working. MeTube is a downloader. So you can take you can go to YouTube. It actually works with, I would say, probably at least hundreds of sites, if not thousands of sites. And you take the website, the URL for a video, you put it into MeTube, and it will fetch that video and store it on the server for you. Open Speed Test, that's an internal speed test site. Actually, that I can show you. So speed test is it on here? Yeah. So here's speed test. This is a speed test site, so you can see what your internal network is doing. You know, everybody knows, or most people know, that you can go to, speedtest.net or fast.com, and test your speed from your home out to the internet. But what about devices inside of your, what if you're on a Wi-Fi in your backyard and you want to see how fast your signal is, back to inside the house, that kind of thing. You can test it with this tool. It's also handy because I have VPN that I connect to the house with sometimes. I guess I could also do it with zero tier, but I can be out at off in another location somewhere, and I can put this address in over the VPN and see how fast my VPN connection is back to the house. So that's kind of handy. Don't remember what PSI transfer is. Watchtower we talked about. Web PDF, and I've got zero tier. So some of these things I thought were interesting. There's a whole website. Actually, I donated some money to the guy because he put this website together, which was really informative, and it talks about all kinds of different Docker containers and what they do and how to install them. And I just was going through it one evening and thinking, oh, well, Bitwarden, that'd be neat to try. So some of them I have running, some of them I haven't set them up yet, or I've tried setting them up, but they didn't work right away. So I just got to go back and play with it. So it's an interesting, just from a technical standpoint to get these things working. I find it pretty neat. You do have to configure these containers so that it stores the configuration of the container outside of the container, so that if Watchtower updates it, what Watchtower does is it identifies that there's an update, say, for instance, to speed test, open speed test. It will stop the open speed test service. It'll stop the container. It'll download the new one, install it, and then it'll start it up again. And if your configuration is inside of the container, it gets wiped out because it deletes that. So you have to put the configuration of the container outside. Anyway, that's getting kind of in the weeds, but that's probably why I don't have it working. I may have not had it set up correctly. So I'm still learning about Docker. It's fascinating, and once I figure it out completely, it should be able to just sit here and I don't have to touch it. All these containers should update and I'll get notifications that it's done and I keep moving on. I don't have to go in and putz with it. So that's the latest there. You talked about internet, and I have my main client has three locations. One's in main office is in Winter Park. Let me close out of this. Back. Stop share. So the main office for this client is in Winter Park, but they also have a workshop in Orlando over right on the Herndon, the road that goes into the airport, the downtown. And then they've got a site trailer down at Disney. And they have been having problems with their internet connection at the Herndon location since I started. You know, they want to have a video conference. Somebody's dialed into a Zoom, and it is not a smooth experience for them. It may start, but then the video will stop, or if they try to talk, the other people can't hear them. And so I went ahead and I upgraded their router and I upgraded their Wi-Fi, and it's still happening. And we replaced the modem. So I think.
Who are they with? Are they with
Bright Spectrum.
Spectrum? Okay.
Yeah. And I put a pfSense router in there, and I put a Unify. I put the Unify Wi-Fi in there. And the thing with what I did, and I'm going to go back and reorientate these wall pucks, as whatever you call them. They're a disc that usually mounts on the ceiling, but the person that installed the prior, this is not an excuse. This is what I did. I took his down and I put mine up in the same place, and they're on the wall and they're facing away from the office. So people in the office are technically behind the Wi-Fi. So the Wi-Fi is broadcasting out this way and the person's over here. So I think what I'm going to do is there's two of those units. I'm going to remove at least one of them and put it in the office. It's in a ceiling, and put it into a ceiling tile. So it's right there. And if it's still a problem, then I'll be lost. I did call Bright House or Spectrum. I wish they hadn't changed their name. Anybody else do that? I always call them Bright House.
Yeah.
Anyway, they had a service that's no longer, it was 110. So 100 down, 10 up. And the lady, the guy, I called a couple times. I replaced the modem, and nobody ever said, well, you have a slow connection. That might be the problem. Finally, yesterday or a couple days ago, I called and they says, oh, well, your issue is you've got 100 down and 10 up. And I said, well, 10 up should work. I've gone to the Zoom website, and their requirements are 1 up. So why am I having these problems? No, you should have a faster connection. Oh, okay. And that's going to cost more money, right? Yeah, that'll cost more money. Okay. So we upgraded their speed to a 600 down and 35 up. And I tested the connection remotely today from the pfSense box, and it's still 110. So they told me I did not have to reboot the modem. It looks like I'm gonna have to reboot the modem. So I'm gonna make another trip over there. Luckily, it's not too far from here. So you're not alone in your fight with internet problems.
And they even had me looking at cables, because I did detect, or actually spotted, some Cat 3 cables going into my wall, going into the entertainment center. That's why I've got a Cat 5e on the floor. And Cat 3, if I recall correctly, is a 10100 cable, or it might even be less than that. Maybe just be a 10, but whatever it is, it's the old standard. Then you went to Cat 5, then you went to Cat 5e, then Cat 6. And I keep hearing, and any switch that isn't a smart switch, or any router whose ports aren't smart ports, the speed of the entire network is limited by the speed of the slowest device. It used to be that way with hubs anyway, but I also heard, and that's why I replaced my switches, looking at these so-called semi-smart switches that can detect the speed of the wire and the devices connected to it, tell you if you're at 100 megahertz or at 1 gigahertz. So you get a yellow or a green. So that at least I can look and see now and see if some particular cable or device is pulling the network down.
Right.
I'm just wondering with what Spectrum actually put in there as their modem or modem/router, even though you're using your own. But I'm just wondering if what's in there is actually loading the system down. And if you take your notebook and plug it directly into their modem and do a test with speed test, have you been able to see the advertised speeds? Or when you go to reboot it, take it with you and take a short length of internet, Ethernet cable? And
I did plug directly into the modem, and I was getting 10 down or 10 up and 100 down.
see, so that's,
So I think it might be that the way the Wi-Fi is mounted. I'm starting to really feel that. So I will likely go over there this weekend and just run it through the ceiling and get it so that it's in that office. It's a big workshop. You know, they assemble all kinds of interesting things for Disney, and but they really only do the Zoom conferences and web conferences in the office. So I've got the one I've got the one I could put in the office, and then I think the other one I could put in the middle, kind of the middle of the building or towards the end of the building, facing the rest of the workspace, so they can use the internet on their phones and whatnot. So
well, Stan with that T-Mobile unit at his house is getting about 40 down. And what was it, about 14 or 15, something like that up, if I remember, Stan?
I think so, yes.
And I haven't noticed you buffering at all. So that's,
I have gotten 4 or 5 messages, your internet is unstable. And then a couple of times that I lost the voice of whoever was talking, but other than certainly acceptable.
and I did consider, that's another thing. This same company has a project office down on International Drive. And we went around and around. They've got a hotspot, an old hotspot from AT&T that had 40 gig. It had a 40 gig cap. And then once you hit that, it started slowing down. So they would contact me about 3/4 of the way through the month and say, can you get this upgraded to 60? Well, I contacted our premier service person at AT&T, and they like, oh, we don't have. We went around and around. We can't upgrade that unit to 60. However, you can buy this new unit. It's a Netgear Nighthawk. It's actually a pretty cool little device. It's only maybe about that big. And it's thin, so it's maybe the size of a cell phone, but square. And we went ahead and bought that, and I brought that down there. I did consider, and that, by the way, that unit is unlimited data, and there's 2 levels. I put it in about 2 weeks ago, and so far nobody's complained. So hopefully it's fast enough, because they did tell me that if they have 3 people that are on a Zoom meeting, that it is not that's kind of pushing its limits. And I said, well, don't do that. It's a hotspot. So, and I did consider doing the T-Mobile thing. But T-Mobile, that plan is for homeowners. If you're running a business with it, they're not going to do that. So,
well, you just have somebody buy it for their home and then bring it into the office.
Well, I guess I could. I consider doing that
If you wish, when Stan finishes his test and gets ready to return the unit to me, I'll loan it to you. You can take it down there and see what kind of reception they have.
Yeah, I might do that. That'd be fun. So, anyway, that's, I think that's pretty much it. I've just been pretty busy. So, not as much time for the fun and games with these Synologies that I'd like to play, but I'm certainly paying the bills. So
That's good.
yeah, so that's it. Thank you.
You're muted, Stan. Unmute. Unmute, start over. There you go.
Yeah. I don't know if you noticed, but I lost you all completely. I was gone for maybe a minute and then it rebooted, came back on very well. But I was curious, Sean, did you get out for dinner with your Chicago area friends? You just thought you might be coming
No,
late.
so I talked to Stan, I talked to, for everybody else, I talked to Stan. Was not planning on making this meeting, or at least certainly not the first part of it. I have friends that are down from Chicago and their son is doing a baseball tournament in Florida. I guess it's spring break. And apparently there's some weather that's going to be happening towards the end of the week that they had to reschedule some games. So they canceled for today and we're going to do it on Friday. So
That's supposed to be nice.
I hope to see them on Friday.
Yeah, great. There have been a lot of tornadoes, apparently Midwest towards Chicago area, that kind of thing. So, okay, Bob Black, you're with us. Haven't been in a long time. I see you got a camera this time. We see you. You're muted, but what have you been up to? Anything you want to share with us?
Unmute, Bob. It'll be if you're, I'm not sure what computer you're on, but you're muted. Still muted. There you go. Well, you're unmuted, but I don't hear you.
Right, me either.
So what you need to do is go to your audio settings. There'll be a little microphone and there's a little caret next to the mute button. And you click on that caret and then it will say select a microphone and select a speaker. Since you hear us, I'm sure you've got the speaker, but you might have to change the microphone. No. Huh. Do you have a second? Do you have two microphones, like a dedicated microphone, and then your camera has a built-in mic? Ah, I heard something. I hear something. Like you're plugging or unplugging. Sometimes these meetings wind up being troubleshooting.
Last couple of times you were on,
You hear
you
me
didn't
now?
have any
Yes,
camera action. Now we see you and we can't hear you.
You can see me, but not hear me?
we
Now
hear you.
just say
Yes,
hear
we
you
got
for
you
the
now.
first time.
Gotcha. Both see and hear.
Okay, well, you can hear me, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, I haven't been very active since COVID, so we decided to hibernate. My doctors told me to, wear a mask and all the time and blah, blah, blah. And so, but I decided not to wear a mask for this meeting because I figured you were distanced enough. But I haven't been doing anything new, and I suppose I could order stuff on Amazon, but well, I guess I have. I don't even remember what I've been doing technology wise, but I don't know if I can add anything, but it's very interesting to be back, and I'll probably make the next one. Maybe I'll dredge something up for next time. So I'll pass to somebody else. I see Sean changed to a mannequin.
Yeah, probably getting up to get a drink or something.
Yeah, that's a avatar. I want to ask Mr. Kevin Leftwich if you can hear us, to unmute and tell us where you're from and how you heard of us. I don't recognize your name.
Hi, Stan. I think you sent me the announcement for tonight's meeting. Can you hear me?
Yes. So are you Pappy03?
Say it again?
Are you Pappy03 from the Tampa Bay area that I've
No,
been using?
No, I'm in Rhode Island.
Ah,
And
okay.
I belong to Sarasota Technical Users Group and also Westchester PC Users Group. And I think I get your emails because I'm in Meetup, or Mike Ungerman used to have a group that I joined, and that's why I got today
That's
a
what you're getting
notification of today's meeting.
Yep. Well, welcome. Glad you could come. What are you doing?
Stan?
What are you doing technically?
What am I doing technically?
Yes.
I'm retired. I used to be a network administrator and I'm running Linux, and that's about it. I just like listening in on the groups because, you know, I pick up tips and learn, get new information and learn.
Is Linux your primary operating system or just something you're dabbling in?
It's my daily driver.
Daily driver.
Well, I'll tell you, Kevin, you've got a new friend right here. Mr. Mike.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you.
Mike's your friend. He's got the attachment right there. You guys are connected with wires.
Well,
I'm sorry, could you say that again, Paul?
Mike is the Linux guy here.
Yeah. I'm aware of that.
Okay.
I'm on Windows for this computer, but at the same time, sitting off in the other direction over there, as my finger is pointing, is a Linux machine with my international game up. And I'm watching some players battle out as we talk here, and it runs under Linux. So it's fun to dabble with other operating systems, but the biggest thing I like about Linux is if you on a scale of 1 to 10, you were rating how much maintenance you have to do on an operating system, and Windows is like 9.5. Linux would be around 3, and that's what attracts it to me.
I agree. I agree with that. And one of my biggest attractions to Linux is I'm using a 11-year-old laptop that runs like I bought it yesterday. So that's another reason why I like Linux. I'm amazed the performance I get, you know, with as little as 4 gigabytes of RAM. I have 8, but again, some of the minimum requirements are as low as 2 gigabytes of RAM. And that's what really turns me on about Linux.
Kevin, where in Rhode Island are you?
Charlestown.
So
It's
my wife's from,
about half an hour to 40 minutes south of Providence.
so my wife's from Kingston. You know where that is?
Wow. North or south? Oh, Kingston, where URI is.
Yes, her father was a professor, and they used to walk to his classes from
Yep,
home.
that's about 20 minutes from here.
Oh, okay. Huh. Cool.
Well, I've got one more thing I can talk about before we wrap this up, Stan, and we may have discussed it before. I think Huey and I both got into one of these pre-release programs, and it's an all-in-one remote control called Sofa Baton. And its claim to fame is that with the Harmony remotes, all-in-one remotes being closed down, that it was designed to be a better Harmony with no Harmonies out there to compete against. So it's a remote with a box that I guess sets up a Bluetooth connection to the remote, and then it has an IR blaster as well as a Bluetooth repeater. And then it has the ability, as the Harmonies did, to go onto their website and download the latest specifications of the devices that you're connecting, and then set up the controls. I haven't even unboxed it yet. It just literally came in from China today. And I look forward to having a Sony set that's operating again sometime in the near future, whenever that is. And then I will set up the sofa Baton, and I'll talk about that when it's running. But if you're interested, just do a search on sofa Baton, and you'll probably find it.
Was it?
So Mike, can I ask you why you need a universal remote?
I'm always sitting there with two remotes. Okay, so I was hoping, fingers crossed, new modern Sony TV. I'm hoping, okay, it's going to let me then put in the codes for my Denon amplifier, for example, so I can change my inputs, and it will let me adjust the volume of my Denon. Well, it doesn't. If I want to throw away my Denon and buy a Sony home theater amplifier, then it will control it.
Right.
So they went away from the universal kinds of controls that you can get. And they say that it will also control a Roku. Now, the way Rokus are set up are not really like other remote controls. They've got their own specific functions for each of their buttons, plus some of their macro buttons. And I had an old Harmony that would let me learn by pressing a button and then receiving the IR code and assigning the button to a button on the Harmony. And I could never make it work properly with the Roku. So I look forward to seeing if the sofa Baton will actually control the Roku and just have one. Press one button, everything comes on. Press the select and you get what you want to watch. Press the volume up, volume down, and it does it on the home theater amp instead of on the TV. And that would be nice. We will see.
I hope it works for you.
I guess that's it, Stan. We didn't get.
Hey, by the way, did we talk about washing machines the last few weeks? So this is just going to be 30 seconds, but I breathed new life into my washing machine. And it is still functioning. Every time she does a load or me, I think that's going to be the last. I've got a couple picked out. I can't get her. She's real busy right now. She just got major orders for some of her sculpture, her art. I'm not going to go into this, but she just sold a ton of stuff in the last month, and she's trying to make new stuff. Like trying to get her into Home Depot and Best Buy to at least look at what she might want. So in the event that I need to go buy something, we at least have something picked out. Because she says, well, just go pick something out. Now what, I'm going to go spend $800 to pick something out? It's like, I can't even get to dinner. I can't pick out a dinner because whatever I pick out, she says, I don't want to go there. So I said, you pick it out, wherever you want to go, I will go. So what, I'm going to spend $800 on a washing machine and bring it home. And she says, I don't like it. Not happening. Right.
Well,
So I got to get her into the store.
Don't forget Southeast Steel. It's here in Orlando. They've got a good selection.
Yeah, there's a lot to look at, but
Yep.
I'm not going up. I'm staying with Maytag and
They're Maytag.
and Whirlpool and Whirlpool.
Southeast Steel are major Maytag and Whirlpool dealers.
I always go in Home Depot. I always ask the guys the same questions to see if I get the same answers. What do you think of? And I have a whole list of questions in my head that I can spit out and see what they have to say. The one interesting new feature on these washing machines is they've got the removable agitator that pops in and pops out. Just got a hand grip to squeeze it and it comes out. Gives you the best of both worlds. Very new feature, not a lot of information. You know, if it's gonna, you know, get loose or get wobbly or anything like that. So, but it's something I'm looking at really hard. I think it's something I think I'd like to buy. And you know, you've seen the videos of the Samsungs and the Korean stuff on spin cycles with the top exploding. You see those videos on TV in the last couple of years. You know, I asked this one guy about those machines. He says, "Well, they're more high tech." You know, I want a low tech machine.
Good luck.
Machine.
Good luck.
I don't need internet on a washing machine, and I don't need more. You know, I just need basics. You know, just basics. The less to break, the better. But it wants to think for you to put how much water in. And
Have you thought about a tub with a washing motor
I'm smarter than any washing
and a
machine.
wringer?
So that's my story.
Well, I need to mention the refrigerator that I talked about last month. The last guy that was still coming when I was talking to you all, when he came with the propane Freon and looked at it, he said, "Oh no, that stuff is what you got in there is totally banned." And we were thinking about possibly changing out the compressor and going to the new Freon. And we decided that would be much like you were telling us, Paul.
You had R12 in there. I'll tell you right. R12 was what they used basically in refrigerators. That was very popular. There were some other coolants, but R12 was the most popular. They didn't start putting, you know, 134 in some of that stuff until kind of recently. But you know, R12, he didn't want to. It's very expensive now. You know, a can used to be 99 cents. Now it's $25, $30 off eBay.
Yep. Well,
I got six cans of it.
Of the old stuff.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, when we were thinking about buying it, you know, he said it was scarce, not even easy to find. But the other thing that convinced us
it's not banned. It's not banned. You just need a license to use it. I've got a license to use it, but you're supposed to have a license to be able to use it so you don't leak it out into the atmosphere, you know, supposedly.
Yep. Well, we decided though that with all the tubing in there is a lot of pinholes. You could see them, and there was mold growing on them on what you could see. And then when we heard that, well, it goes up through the sides, and there's no easy way to get to that, it became a $1,000-$2,000 project that I wound up getting a Samsung similar to it, but I'll send some pictures out because we'd had that refrigerator for 1 year less than we're married. So it's like 47 years. And yes, Kevin, thank you. I cut in and out when you were giving your response. And there's a chap named Pappy out of Tampa Bay who had sent me an email, said he wanted to join us and please call him. So I called and got his wife, and I sent him a link, and he didn't make it. I don't know his name. That's why I said, were you that person? But all right, the refrigerator we bought is a Samsung. It's double door with a bottom freezer, which is similar to what we had.
I have the same one, Stan.
Really?
Yes.
Okay, well, it's nice and it's good, but the doors, we used to have twin doors that open that way, so now we got to reach that way, and it's this big door that's but it's keeping everything cold, and we are through that nightmare. Well, okay, thanks all for coming. Anybody else got anything major they want to talk about?
When we bought our refrigerator just not too long ago, we bought a Frigidaire, and it's got double doors. You know, the right side's the refrigerator and the left side's the freezer. But you know, I looked at the ones with the drawer in the bottom, that's the freezer. And I always, maybe not so, but it appeared to me that you would load so much stuff in there that you wouldn't know what's on the bottom and things would get lost.
That's true. But
Does that
on the-
happen?
On the side by side, we got one of those too. It's the stuff in the back that you forget what's there.
It'll get lost, right?
Too much stuff and keeping track of where it all is a nightmare. But
Okay,
okay, well, thanks all for coming. Enjoyed it. Stay safe and we'll see you next time.
Thank you for